Hello, Michel Juvet.
Hello.
The top economists, central bankers, and finance ministers met last weekend in Jackson Hole for their annual meeting. Mario Draghi's speech was quite different. So what exactly did he say?
Well, firstly, he said that the situation in Europe was very bad and probably the Eurozone was about to start a third recession and probably about to start a deflation. So in this environment, he said we must now coordinate monetary policy and budget policy.
Can you explain a little bit more?
Well, that's a change because just remember 3 years ago when the markets were very nervous about the public debt in Europe, the recommendation was to say the ECB will supply the funds, but only if government starts to do some austerity measures to reduce the deficit. Now it seems to be more flexible on this subject.
So it's not the same message?
Not, and probably because we have the American experience with us. America has been able to generate growth, reduce massively unemployment and reduce budget deficit. And that is why Mr. Draghi said we have to be flexible on the budget side and at the same time supply sufficient funds to the economy and to the markets.
So it seems to be a complete turnaround. Is this a victory for France and Italy who are asking for this, and for the former French Minister Arnaud de Montebourg who wanted strong support from the BCE?
No, I think we have to not misunderstand the message. Mr. Draghi's message is not to say, like Mr. Montebourg say, let's spend more money and let's finance the spending with the help of the ECB. No, the message is to say let's spend more money, but only if countries try to make this long-term fundamental structural adjustment, particularly in the labor market, particularly in reducing the administration, reducing the government spending. So that is the only conditions whereby the ECB will supply the funds, and that is a long-term process.
Is it also a subtle recommendation for Germany?
Yeah, probably, because Germany has a sort of growth problem as well nowadays. But Germany has a budget which is in neutral position. So Germany has the power to spend a little bit more money to stimulate domestic demand, which will help the Eurozone partners and their exporters.
So what are your conclusions?
Well, economically, that's a good message, but we know that processing structural adjustment is a long-term objective, and politically, it's very difficult. And it's a bit worrying today looking at France, because France is just only 2.5 years before the next presidential year, and we know it's going to be impossible to implement structural reform in France. So markets might be shaky next year again, and that is the reason why the ECB is going to start at the end of the year an American quantitative easing in Europe as well, and start to buy government bonds.
And the markets? And
the markets and the euro will remain weak because in the same time in the USA, the Fed, the US central bank, will start a tightening policy which is a support for the US currency. And for the equity markets in Europe, supplying more funds, it's just a new support for the equity market.
Thank you very much, Michel Juvet.
Thank you.